Hey, I believe we have Matt on deck.
Hey, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Doing excellent. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us today and being a little flexible. I know our schedule has been running a little early, so thank you for jumping in a few minutes early, Matt. And
No, no problem.
just real quickly, who got you on the Smile-A-Thon today?
That would be Dr. Smiley, Ken Rashawn. Him and I have been working together, and he's going to be publishing my book.
All right. Well, your name does sound familiar. Do you already have one book out, or you're just working on this one coming up?
It should have been out already, but life circumstances, things happen. I've been working away, and just a lot of things have happened, and just kept pushing it back. But it's all in God's timing, right? That's what I firmly
Well,
believe.
exactly. And join the rest of the authors about how we plan. Sometimes, God, we plan these things and God's like, I'm going to have a say in this. So I am with you. All right. Well, welcome. I love seeing your smile, and I'm going to give you the floor, and it's all yours.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, my name is Matt Fleming. I'm 35 years old. I live in Santa Barbara, California. I'm a speaker, entrepreneur, author, soon to be, coach, transformation coach. I work in the fitness industry, which has been my background for quite some time. And I've also struggled with addiction heavily, which has been also a big part of my story, which is what my book is all about. And, just my upbringing, things that I've went through. My goal in life is to inspire others to live life to the fullest, right? We all take a lot of things for granted. I did for a very long time. And in my book that am talking about, I got into the raw, gory details of just everything. I think it's important for men, especially, to be open, honest, and vulnerable, not in a way of, like a woe is me type thing, but just recognizing the things that we've gone through and just being able to verbalize that and share with others because we're not the only ones that have gone through things. At a very young age, I found myself drinking heavily. Um, and that quickly led to other things like cocaine, meth, heroin abuse. And by the time I was 22, I was a slave to using a needle to get high every single day. To back it up even before that, I've met I've been to so many rehabs and jails and institutions and met addicts and people from all walks of life that have all struggled with addiction. So I can't really pinpoint and say what makes an addict by one measure. All I've done is share my story, right? As openly, as honestly as possible, because I've met people from great homes that struggled with the exact same things that I have. But for myself personally, my insecurity was really what led me to being an addict. I believe that's what made me feel comfortable with being me. When I was about 7 years old, I found out my father wasn't my real father. And that kind of put a sting on me because I always grew up for the first 7 years of my life thinking that he was. And I overheard a conversation about him not wanting to pay child support for me anymore because I wasn't his real son after him and my mom split up. And then, a little while later, I found out that my biological father was my mom's friend in her earlier years who uh, essentially raped her while she was passed out one night when they were hanging out, and she split and never talked to him again. And so it made me feel a certain type of way for a really long time. And when I found drugs and alcohol, I finally felt comfortable with me being me. I projected my anger towards myself on a lot of other people when I was younger, got me into a lot of series of fist fights and just into a lot of trouble. And like I said, when I found alcohol for the first time, it was like the weight was lifted off my chest and I finally figured out how I wanted to feel forever. And when I started experimenting with heavy drugs, it felt even better. And it worked for quite a while until it didn't. The consequences that come with that lifestyle are not fun. Like I said, the county jail was a revolving door for me. I should have been to prison many times over, but God intervened so many times. And it's really been a reflection process in the process of writing this book. Man, I've broken down so many times and just cried when I realized how many times God intervened. When I was living in that life in the moment, I didn't realize how hectic things had gotten. But I just celebrated 4 years of sobriety yesterday. And, writing this book and looking and reflecting back on these stories through a clear mind and a clear set of eyes has just brought tears of joy to my eyes. And I'm really happy to share my story with people, even as hard as it is, right? That's the things I've already talked about and that I've written about in this book are not easy for me to talk about. It's taken a lot of work for me to get to this point. where I can share my story open and honestly. And there was a lot of chaos in those years. I'm 35, like I said, I just turned 35 in June. And my journey of sobriety didn't start 4 years ago. It started really when I was 26 for the first time I decided to get sober. And I was given the ultimatum of going to prison for 3 years or doing a year-long treatment facility, which I did. I graduated and completed it. In that time, some of the toughest moments of my life. My girlfriend of 2 years, whose car I had just gotten impounded right before I went to jail, and she lost her job, all these things. I went to rehab and she died 17 days after I got there, drugs. And, I blamed myself for a really, really long time. The chain of events that would have taken place differently had I not got her car impounded, had she not lost her job and not gone to work, she would have been in a different situation. And in the process, even of writing this book, her mom is really, really proud of me. And I've spoken to her recently and got all the details figured out exactly how they went down while I was gone. And, she's just so happy to see me living life to the fullest. And it's one of the many reasons I stay sober today. But like I said, that was when I was 26 and I wasn't done. I wasn't done digging my hole. I thought I had a problem with drugs, not alcohol. And I started drinking again. And within probably about 6 months, I was back to sticking a needle in my arm, strung out homeless on the streets, which came with more consequences. Found myself in the hospital during COVID with an abscess in my spine that nearly paralyzed me. It was like the pain, the best way to describe it was like someone was sticking a knife into my lower back over and over and over again. I found endocarditis in my heart, which is a serious infection in the lymph nodes. It gets in there. Once it gets spread to a certain point, they can't save you. You're going to die a slow, painful death. And it was miserable. And you think I would have learned my lesson from that moment, but I didn't. I got out of the hospital after 72 days of being pumped full of antibiotics around the clock, with doctors telling me if I left, I was going to die. And on day 72, I just got over it and I ended up getting drunk, leaving, and shooting dope again right there in the parking lot. A year after that, I overdosed on fentanyl in my truck, sitting in a dollar store parking lot all by myself, about a year to the date. And I remember coming to from that overdose. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I wanted to live. It was God's spirit taking over me. I was nothing short of a miracle that morning or night or whatever you want to call it. It was about 3 in the morning. And I just felt for the first time in a long time like this can't be it. I can't stop here. I thought about my mom, the same person I told previously to her face that I was going to die an addict, and I was perfectly okay with that. She had lost her brother to drugs a few years prior to this. He stuck a knife right through his chest, and I just thought about how much pain she already felt from going through that and all the pain and trauma that I've caused her. And I just put the plan in motion to get myself clean. I was going to make my comeback, and that's exactly what I did, man. I checked myself into detox. I told myself I was going to stay there as long as it took. And from there, I found a home in a sober living. From there, I moved out in my first apartment, and now I have a beautiful apartment about a block away from the beach back in Santa Barbara, California, where I first got sober, but living back, working back in the fitness industry, not just with fitness, but mindset, because I believe it all starts up here, right? Everything stems from your mind. And fitness for me has been such a catalyst for growth. And I try to preach that to my clients, let them know that, you're literally rewiring your brain whenever you're working out. Neurogenesis increases by up to 400%. There's so many different things like how eating healthy with your vagus nerve that corresponds from your gut health to your brain health. Um, there's other things in neuroscience that are newly figured out, like anterior mid-cingulate cortex, which is this part in the front of your brain on either side that literally grows in size as you're exercising, as you're doing hard things like getting outside of your comfort zone. We all know those are the key to growth, right? But it's really cool when science backs these things up. And like I said, I just graduated or celebrated 4 years of sobriety yesterday. Been working on my book relentlessly again recently. I had a little setback. That setback was pretty strange, man. My real dad, who I've never known for 35 years, came to my life, and we met for the first time randomly on the side of the road. He just called me and was like, "Hey, I'm passing through. Let's meet up." And he didn't know about me for the longest time. About a year and a half ago, I found him on Google through a real estate deal that he had sold his house. I reached out to him. He found out who I was, told him the whole story, and he doesn't know all the things that I know, and he doesn't know that I wrote about them in this book. And so whenever he came to meet me and we, started to, whatever you want to call it, I don't know if you call it build a relationship. It was a very awkward meeting, but nonetheless, it happened. It made me think, wow, now he's going to read this book and there goes that, but it doesn't matter to me. I have to, this is the calling that God put on my heart from the very beginning was when I first checked myself into that detox. I went and it was about a 2.5 hour drive, and probably took me a few days to get there because I stopped at every parking lot and got high one last time on my way there. And, I remember drinking that last tall can on the train tracks right around the corner, and I went up and knocked on the door and real lightly, and no one answered. And I remember getting back in my truck and just sitting there with the keys ready to start it back up and take off. And I just felt again that presence of God tell me, look, you have two choices right now. You can either get this done and you can live a happy, successful life, and I'm going to open doors and opportunities that you never thought possible, or you're going to turn around, you're going to end up in prison or dead. Probably both. And the alternative didn't sound good to me. So I went back, knocked on that door, and those first 10 days were hell. I went into a very low budget, free detox facility. It wasn't Passages of Malibu like. You basically get a twin bed and you get to say, sleep this off. And it was painful, man. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done, especially because no one was forcing me to be there. And again, so many times in between that God has intervened in my life, including that moment whenever I sat through those withdrawals without being forced. I had done it many times over, but never by my choice. I'd been forced in jails and all these other places that have forced me to detox. And since then, over those last 4 years, God has opened up so many opportunities. I've ran 2 marathons, ran one half marathon. I've competed in a bodybuilding show. I've been in the gym working on myself relentlessly, like I did, back when I first got sober. I got into personal training and all that. And so today I get to help and inspire men all over the world. I've been to, just recently got back from an event where I got to meet, what is his name from Shark Tank? Mr. Wonderful. He spoke at one of these events. I got to meet Donald Trump Jr. I've met Tim Grover. I got to meet Marcus Luttrell. All these cool people that I've been invited and opened doors to. And I know it's just the beginning because in the grand scheme of things, 4 years is not that long. And I'm excited for what the future holds. And I'm excited for what's next, right? And I know that this book for me was the calling that God put on my heart, as much as our negative self-talk, fear, and doubt will kick in from time to time, telling us that we're not good enough. We haven't accomplished enough to write a book. We haven't done all these things. I know it's what's going to take me to that next level, and I'm excited to share it and inspire with the world of what happens whenever you really just start taking control of your life again.
Your story is so amazing to me. I was glued to the screen the entire time. I will say, I know you said 4 years is not a very long time, but look what has happened in the last 4 years of your life. I
Yeah.
mean, you've done great things. So, in the scheme of things, in a lifetime, 4 years is not a lot, but you have made tremendous strides in your sobriety and all the other things that you have accomplished. So proud of your success. And I cannot wait to see your book come out.
Thank you
Tell
so
us how
much.
else we can reach out to you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on Instagram. My Instagram is Matt Fleming Official. Facebook, Matt Fleming. TikTok, same thing. I don't have a website yet. I need to get that up. But one thing at a time, right? We're just just chipping away. And like you said, 4 years isn't, and it is a long time at the same time. And what I've learned to do is just what they've taught me in recovery is take it one day at a time. My goal every day is to hit my pillow and be like, I did as much as Matt possibly could have done with that 24 hours he was blessed with. Some days are better than others. But I just have some non-negotiables in my life that I tackle every single day, and it's worked for me so far pretty well.
That's amazing. Just amazing. It gives me goosebumps. But thank you, Matt. I really appreciate your time. And again, thank you for being flexible with our schedule today. And since we're now all in the same circle of Ken Roshan, I am sure I will be seeing you more.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Have a good day.